Centuries before Sixth Sense released to theatres, Spanish literature had its own savant claiming to see dead people. I'm talking about Francisco de Quevedo, and if you haven't heard his name before, weep and lament, because we're talking about someone who may be the greatest lyricist the Spanish language has ever produced. To repeat what is fast becoming a trope here, Francisco de Quevedo is better than your favorite songwriter. And it's probably not even close. Vivo en conversación con los difuntos, y con mis ojos escucho a los muertos. I live in conversation with the deceased, and with my eyes I listen to the dead. Can you guess what Quevedo is referring to here? There's a clue right behind me. Stick around, because that's going to be the topic of today's video. That's an extract from Quevedo's Soneto Desde la Torre. And as you might have guessed, it's about a library. That metaphor, living in conversation with the deceased, is about consulting books. It's about accessing the thoughts, the wisdom, the ideas of those long gone. The historical context behind this is important, although it is pretty difficult to pin down, but I'll do my best to provide you with everything you need to understand this poem. De Quevedo was born in 1580 on the 17th of December. In fact, this video is scheduled to release on his birthday. I hope that works out properly. He was associated with the Spanish court from at least 1606, and we are pretty certain that he met and became good friends with both Lope de Vega and Miguel de Cervantes. You can insert your own "your network is your net worth" meme here. In fact, if one of you could make that, please do. I'd be very amused. In addition to being a poet, Quevedo worked in politics, and this was the norm in the Siglo de Oro in Spain. Miguel de Cervantes saw action at Lepanto with the Spanish Navy. Lope de Vega was also part of the Spanish Navy. Almost all the major figures in literature of the time were politicians or soldiers of some sort. Quevedo, however, was quite unfortunate because when an attempted coup in Venice was discovered and the Duke of Osuna was implicated in it, Quevedo was punished. He was imprisoned and spent part of his term in La Torre de Juan Abad, which is a part, even today, of Castile. You could consider it as something like a modern-day house arrest. Quevedo had only access to the books in his property, to his own personal library, and that seems to be what the first line of the poem is referring to. So without further ado, I'm going to start reading that poem. Now, I know very little about poetry, so please forgive errors in my scansion and errors in my emphasis, although I would like to hear about them down in the comments. I'm always keen to learn. But I'd like to go through the poem bit by bit, providing an English translation, and explain to you some of the extremely powerful metaphors, because that metaphor that I opened up this video with is beautiful, but it's not the only powerful metaphor here. Retirado en la paz de estos desiertos, con pocos pero muy doctos libros juntos, vivo en conversación con los difuntos, y con mis ojos escucho a los muertos. Retired in the peace of these deserts, with few but very learned books together, I live in conversation with the deceased, and with my eyes listen to the dead. The paz de estos desiertos, the peace of these deserts, I think that must be a pretty clear reference to the dry and arid nature of the Castilian plains, where the Torre de San Juan Abad was located. And, of course, when he mentions pocos pero doctos libros juntos, few but learned books together, he's probably referring to the paucity of books that he had access to, but the fact that nonetheless they were extremely valuable and full of wisdom and knowledge to mine. Sino siempre entendidos, siempre abiertos, o enmiendan o fecundan mis asuntos, y en mis músicos callados contrapuntos al sueño de la vida hablan despiertos. If not always understood, always available, always open. They remedy or nurture my affairs, my thoughts, and in quiet contrapuntal music, speak awake to the dream of life. That first part, if not always understood, always available, of course, refers to this remarkable thing about books, is we can always revisit them. It's interesting because this verse has, in many ways, conditioned the way I look at reading. Too often, we think that we need to understand everything the first time when we're reading or watching something. But it's always there. It's usually always available for us to revisit and appreciate more. And the better the work is, usually the more often you can fruitfully revisit it. I love that line. Las grandes almas que la muerte ausenta, de injurias de los años vengadora, libra o gran Don José docta la imprenta. I'm here relying on a previously made translation that I'm going to link in the description below. It's by, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, Alvin Virkala. And he has it say, great souls absented by mortality, in death avenging injuries of years, the learned press, O Joseph, has set free. There's this idea that those who are gone are made immortal by the works that they have left behind, but also that they've provided for themselves the best defense for any calumnies, any unjust accusations they may have faced during their life. In fuga irrevocable huye la hora, pero aquí el mejor cálculo cuenta, que en la lección y estudios nos mejora. And I'll try my own translation here. In irrevocable flight, the hour passes, but that is the most calculated use of our time, because in studying and reading, we are bettered. And it's difficult to think of a more baroque way of understanding the role of education, reading and studying in our own lives. As you can see, this is a sonnet, and as Lope tells us, a sonnet is made of 14 verses.
En mi vida me he visto en tal aprieto. 14 versos dicen que es soneto.
And it's also a sonnet rich in metaphorical language. I hope you enjoyed this video. I would like to maybe go a bit deeper into this kind of content, so let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see more of this kind of work. But for now, I will say many thanks for watching up until this point, and I hope to see you in the next video. Adios.